Okay, welcome to the course, and what we're going to do during this course, hopefully, is teach you how to create database-based applications to show data on the internet in a way that renders it meaningful for human beings, essentially. So in that sense, there's a number of sides of what we're going to be teaching you. It's going to teach you the basics of programming, internet programming, the basics of databases on the internet, and also elements of how human beings read data, how to render data in such a way to make it as meaningful as possible to the human mind and the human eyes. Okay, so we're primarily going to be using ASP as the framework, ASP.NET as the framework, and we're going to be using Visual Basic as the major programming language. You are allowed to use whatever editor you want to do these tutorials, but I would definitely urge you to install Visual Studio 2008 and get used to using Visual Studio 2008 because it's a very nice programming environment. The University of Hertfordshire has a license for it, which means it's free for you, although quite expensive for most people, and it's got a number of features which actually make programming pleasant and enjoyable. So I would definitely urge you to install Visual Studio 2008 and actually use it. Okay. If you have done so, this would be when you open Visual Studio 2008, you'll probably come to a screen something like this, although I've got a lot of previous projects of my own which are on here, but you might not have. And also it might prompt you for the kind of the major language you're going to be using. If it does that, say you're going to be using mainly VB.NET. Okay. And if you've done that, it'll set it up for you. And then at this point, what you need to do is create a new project. Okay, so I've already created one for myself, learning ASP, but I'm going to create one called Studying ASP, just to show you how you set up a Visual Basic ASP.NET project. So if I go to File, New Project, choose New Project, then you've got a list of all types of projects you're allowed to use. You can you can say Visual Basic as being the kind of because that's my sort of, if you like, favorite language. You can make, if you like, Windows applications, programs which run under Windows, web-based programs, smart device ones which will run on kind of PDAs and things like that. You can make Office add-ins, things like that. So you've got various types of project you're allowed to make. What we're going to be making, by the way, is a web ASP.NET web application. Okay. So to choose that, choose Web, choose ASP.NET Web Application, and let's call this My First ASP Web Application. So that's the name we're going to give this project. Okay, a project means a collection of files, more than one file. So that is our project. This is the location, the default location for all projects you create in Visual Studio 2008, which is they are put inside a directory under the project subdirectory of the Visual 2008 directory. So, there's no reason basically why you shouldn't use that, but you can actually choose a different place if you want to. If you click Browse, you can then choose different places on your system where you would like to do it. But I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to leave it there. Solution, create new solution, or add to an existing solution, or just create a new solution. And there's a solution name. My First ASP Web Application. A solution in Visual Studio terms means, if you like, the project file. It's, if you like, the overarching structure for all of the sub-files that you create. Okay, and solution basically means the same as project. So you click, once you do that, you click OK. Okay, and if you've got something open already, just ignore this. This is because I've already got this open. The conference is already closed. Save change project. Say yes. It doesn't really matter. That's irrelevant. So what I've done is closed down the previous project I was working on, and now it's opened this project, My First Web Application. Okay, so My First Web Application, it's got a sort of a set of not really folders, sub aspects, if you like. Project, which is where if you right click on that, I actually have no idea what that means. In fact, you have default ASPX, which is the page from which your site begins. If your site has many pages, this is the site from which they will begin. Okay, and you've got some web config page, which I'll make it a little more clearer what that is when we come to it. So let's go back to the tutorial. Okay, and let's go back to the Hello World tutorial. Okay, so in it, what we're told is how to create a simple HTML page. So here it says we're going to create a page of HTML, but we're going to save it as hello1.aspx. Okay. So let's first of all let's create that page in Visual Studio. Let's go back to Visual Studio,